Greetings to all the viewers who's currently watching this. My name is Justin Hart, and today I'm going to be interviewing a very special guest. This guest has done 40 years in real estate, right? 6 years as a member of Philadelphia City Council, and now he is currently running to be the next mayor. Allan, Domb, thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Getting over a cold, but otherwise feeling pretty good.
Oh, you was going over a cold? It seemed like...
Everyone's getting over a cold.
It's crazy. I first wanted to ask, I saw that your first name was actually Michael. What made you stick with the middle name?
So I didn't know that.
Really?
I didn't know that until I went to get my driver's license. And I asked my parents for my birth certificate, and they said, I looked at the birth certificate, it says, Michael Allan Domb. I've always been known as Allan. I was always known as Allan Michael Domb.
Really?
I was named after a great grandfather.
Okay.
And my parents decided to switch Allan with Michael. My father didn't like the initials M-A-D, MAD, so we switched it.
All right, that's fine. I've never heard of someone not knowing their first. So when did you get your license? Around
17.
17. So it took 17 years for you to know your first name was Michael. All right, that's crazy. And then another thing I also saw, just going over names, I also see that you have a nickname, the Condo King. Are you aware of this name, and how did that come about?
So I'm aware of it. I've never called myself that.
Okay.
Right, and I've never even advertised that.
Okay.
People sometimes call me that, but really, I came here. A little background about myself that I can share with you.
Yeah, of course.
I grew up pretty modestly, small apartment, 800 square feet. The rent was $100 a month till I was 12. We actually got evicted because my mother complained we had no hot water for 2 weeks. And I always had part-time jobs, always worked. Like I'm 5 years old, my brother was 9. We'd go out at 5:30 in the morning and shine shoes. I was 11 years old. You guys don't know this. I had what a paper route is. I had 2 paper routes, 5:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the afternoon. Always had a strong work ethic.
Right.
I'm on the wrestling team in high school, 9th to 12th grade. After wrestling practice, which was over at 6 o'clock freshman year, I would pump gas from 6:30 to 9 in the gas station.
Right.
Sophomore year, I was a janitor in an office building, 6:30 to 10:30, 4 nights a week, getting $1.60 an hour. So always worked a lot. In fact, I was a dishwasher at a restaurant called Howard Johnson's. I don't know if you remember Howard Johnson's.
I don't.
Okay, it's $1.65 an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
So I actually read somewhere that you were doing landscaping for a little bit. Was that true?
You did good research. You're a good researcher. You are. No one's ever asked that question yet on this whole campaign.
Really?
Yes.
Listen, I know. I definitely was able to
That's
see that
really
you were
good.
doing shoe shining with your older brother Peter.
Oh my
and
God.
You started off with quarters. You
are good. I need to hire you. You are good.
Listen,
you are
you
good.
can get my contact after
Yeah,
this.
you are good.
But yeah.
I'll tell you about the landscaping.
Okay, yeah.
So besides all the other jobs, I would cut grass, I would do plantings. I love landscaping. In fact, you didn't research this one because it's not public. I applied to Delaware Valley Agricultural School
Really?
to be a landscape architect. Because I think landscaping, look, it's the front lawn of everything.
I never heard that before.
Landscaping is your front lawn. It's the first impression everyone sees. And as it carries over to parts, which we'll talk about, it's impeccable to keep things clean. Cleanliness, my grandmother always taught me, is next to godliness. Has to be clean.
I like that. I've heard that quote so many times. It's been a while since I heard it, but yeah, it's definitely nice hearing that again. So now that you spoke about, just you doing lawns, along with that, I wanted to also ask about, 1 second.
I love that your old style with the notes. I think that's great.
Listen, thank you. I appreciate it. Now, in terms of origin, you was born in Jersey City, and then eventually...
You're the most prepared interviewer I've ever.
I appreciate you.
Hand it to you, really.
You was born in Jersey City, you was raised in Fort Lee, small apartment, and you were working, so I'm assuming that you came from a little bit of poverty.
We didn't know what poverty, when you grow up, you don't know poverty.
Yeah, when you grow up in it, it's life.
Right.
It's life.
I mean, the rent was $100 a month till I was 12 years old.
Really?
My mother would, still till 2 years ago, she passed away, may she rest in peace, but up to 2 years ago, she would still wash plastic forks and spoons to recycle them. Okay?
Really?
And so we drank out of glasses that had ridges around the sides. Finally, when I was 15, I said to her, Mom, where are these glasses from? They were Hellman's mayonnaise jars, recycled.
Oh, really?
So we didn't waste anything.
That's good. And I mean, clearly you didn't waste anything. You had a really big saving type of mentality as you was growing up. And, I have read that you had done a lot of saving. And was it mainly the money that you was earning that kind of put yourself into college over in
Yes.
American University?
Yeah. So I would say I had a strong savings mentality.
Mhm.
Like, you know, if I made $100, I would save $90.
Okay.
And maybe use $10. But I always had that mentality to save for tomorrow.
Okay.
But also, my mother used to love to tell a story when I was 5 years old. My grandmother took my cousin and I, and she was 5,
Right.
a month younger than me, to a toy store and said, for the holidays, any toy you want, up to $10.
Really?
My cousin buys a doll. I turned to my grandmother. My mother loved to tell this story. And I said to my grandmother, is it okay if I have the $10?
Did she give it to you?
Yeah. And I saved it.
Good. I think that's definitely a mentality that a lot of young people just would have to adapt, especially to be able to be successful.
You know what I tell young people when I'm speaking?
What do
There's
you
two
tell
things
young
you can use for money. You can spend money on butter and investments. Butter or things that melt away as soon as you buy them.
Mm-hmm.
Cars, going out to eat, clothes, they go down in value as soon as you buy them. Investments, whether it's savings, stocks, or real estate, hopefully will go up.
Right.
And I always say the key to life is the less butter you have at an early age and the more you allocate to investments, the more butter you can have later.
That's good. That's really good. Say something that need to be taught in a financial literacy program, which we'll be talking about in the field, okay? And in terms of, like I brought up, you did go to American University. You actually went there for marketing. What made you want to do marketing in the first place?
Like every other freshman probably going to college, I took all my classes.
Okay.
I worked full time during the day at a time lock company.
Yeah, I saw that.
Started out assembling locks and I asked if I could sell. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I chose marketing because I thought because I was selling locks, I think that was a good opportunity for me. Also minored in finance, which was helpful.
Okay.
But I graduated in 3.5 years, applied for 3 jobs. Gimbel's, Philadelphia, and I wasn't from this area. IBM and Burroughs Wellcome Pharmaceutical Company. All 3 rejected me.
Really?
Rejected. So the Time Lock Company gave me an opportunity to come to Philadelphia to be a manager. This was 1976, making $15,000 a year. I accepted it, and here I am today.
That's good. And that made you move to Philadelphia, and where you actually was at Temple getting your license for.
I heard a guy on the radio who became a tremendous mentor for me,
Really?
Jay Lamont, who founded Temple's Real Estate Institute.
Say the name again?
Jay Lamont.
Okay.
1978, November, Sunday morning, he had a radio show called All About Real Estate, WPN. And I was listening and it intrigued me. And so I started taking classes at Temple while I was working in the time lock business.
Right.
And then got all my classes done in January 1980, went into real estate, 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning. Went back to my full-time job from 8:30 to 6 at night. Lunch hour, returned phone calls for real estate.
Right.
Worked in real estate office 6:30 to 10:30 at night, Monday through Thursday. Fridays I stopped at 8 o'clock. Saturdays and Sundays I worked 10 hours a day. And people said to me, God, you're a workaholic.
Right, like, that's what I'm thinking in my head.
I could see that by your face. But I said to them, you know what? When you love what you do, it's not work. And if there was one message I would want to share with all of you, find what you love. That is the key to life. Because once you love it, it's not work.
So we're going to actually transition over towards you as a mayor, right? And overall your plans. So I first want to start off with asking you about your plans as mayor and I guess how it pertains to Philadelphia Parks and Rec.
So first of all, we have several crises in the city.
We do.
We have a public safety crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We have an education crisis. We have a good paying jobs crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We have a housing affordability crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, community safety, public safety is a big one. But the biggest crisis, which you alluded to earlier, is leadership. Because anything can be solved with strong leadership. These can be solved. People can be brought together. We can solve these problems with strong leadership.
Right.
No government, no business, no church, no hospital or university is successful without strong leadership.
That is true.
So that's why I'm running for office. I believe I can provide that leadership and solve those problems.
Actually, that reminded me of a tweet that I came across of yours. You actually have 2 tweets where you really talk about the leadership that you feel like Philadelphia needs. And one of those tweets, you specifically say, Philly needs a plan forward and a leader who will follow through. I'm proud to be the only candidate for mayor who's introduced a comprehensive community safety plan, and I've been a business leader for almost 4 decades. You posted that February 7th. And so I wanted to ask you about that in terms of, was that your passive way of saying, I am that leader that Philadelphia needs?
Well, look, I feel I've always been a leader my whole life, but I will share with you really great advice I received from Governor Rendell in 2015 on leadership.
Listen.
And he said to me, do all the work and give out the credit.
I remember you saying that too.
Tremendous, tremendous. Do all the work and give out the credit. And I've tried to do that all along the way. And when you do that, people want to work with you. I'll also share with you that any strong leader has to have people like them, trust them, and then they will be willing to work with them and provide that leadership.
Do you feel like those are 3 things you have?
You have to gain like a likability with people. They have to trust you, and then they'll work with you for the leadership.
That's true. And actually, I do want to actually quickly mention this. You kind of touched it, but it's definitely been a reoccurring theme throughout like Twitter profiles of you, bios, and all over is, and actually the Philadelphia Citizen tweeted it and you retweeted it, was that your priorities are reduce violence, improve education, and invest in good paying jobs. And I do want to ask you, where do you see the impact, or how do you see the impact that the rec centers may have or Parks and Rec may have in terms of those core values that you kind of have for yourself?
I'm going to get to that. The number one thing we do need to do in the city is reduce the violence. And that's why I published a 10-point public safety plan. It's on my website, votedomb.com. That includes clean the vacant lots and seal the abandoned buildings. Day one, start on that program. They try to accomplish as much as possible in the first 100 days. But also, when you look at the big picture, affordable housing, good paying jobs, poverty, it's a big one too, I mentioned that, poverty, and crime are all connected long-term to education. Let's think about it. Of the top 50 cities in the country, we have some of the most affordable housing. But of the top 50 cities in the country, we have some of the most lowest average income. So is this an income problem or a housing problem? If the income was raised, the housing becomes affordable. It's really both at this point.
So you're saying they're both kind of stem from education,
yes.
Which I actually was even planning on asking, where do you see, and I know that you already have mentioned with trying to support, not you haven't mentioned it yet, but you have tried to support different programs when it came towards education, even food drives and, financial literacy and, all that stuff, which I see. I've been part of Parks and Rec for a while, so I see that provided in them. And so do you see any chances of you even trying to increase programs with Parks and Rec in order to increase that for the youth? And what programs do you think that you could possibly even add to kind of help with re-educating?
So let me go back to something you said earlier, and that was that what you did as a young person carries over to you in life, right? So in the schools and in rec centers, in schools, I want to put in mandatory teaching of financial literacy, K through 12. Mandatory. I want to put in mandatory teaching of technology, K through 12, and entrepreneurship, K through 12. And then also want to put in our libraries, or it could be the rec centers where we do this for adults and children after school, those 3 programs, financial literacy, technology, and entrepreneurship. But in addition to that, I want to see us make sure we have rec centers that have basketball courts that are in great shape, baseball fields that are in great shape, basically taking care of everything. That
is good.
I mean, one of the questions I think you were going to ask me, I'm going to answer it for you, is what do I like to do when I go to a park? I can tell you right now, I'm attracted to the basketball court. You should see the video of me. I only took 2 tries. Top of the key, swish, in the basketball court.
I got to see that. I think it's fine. Okay, so now that you have mentioned that and just overall progress, so just a quick opinion. I usually don't give opinions when it comes to interviews, but because it's all about the interviewee's opinions, but just a quick opinion on my standpoint in terms of that. I definitely think it would be very important with, you could add some of these programs within the school and make it mandatory. But I think adding into a rec centers may be a little helpful, only because I have seen where, some students are bored at school and they don't want more learning, more at a rec center where the education is kind of bonded with fun. It allows them to actually be able to be a little bit more open towards it, especially since it's outside of those school hours.
I'm going to share with you an idea I think we could put in place. When I was in council, I engaged, Sylvester Mobley, Coded by Kids. So we engaged, I paid for 4 schools. I raised money, made 16, 20 phone calls.
Right.
And raised money for 20 schools. But we could do this in the rec centers too, where we taught technology, coding, and entrepreneurship. 15 kids per class. But we could put a Coded by Kids course in these rec centers after school. That would be phenomenal.
That would really work.
Phenomenal.
You know what? And these programs are good, but then it comes to the question of the funding that's needed for these. And I can't really talk about adding more programs if we don't talk about the funding that goes along with it. And I actually do got some statistics here. So Baltimore spends $127 overall in their per capita each year for Parks and Rec. Do you know how much Philadelphia do spend?
Like 50, I guess.
Yes, 50. I'm pretty sure they sent it to you already, but
Full disclosure.
but yeah, so is that enough? And if it's not, what it would be enough in order to really be able to kind of invest back into these parks and rec?
Look, I'm a realist, and I understand that Philadelphia has a limited amount of money and
They
a
really
limited
do.
budget.
Yes.
We have a lot of poverty in the city, so we don't have the ability to have a huge budget.
That is
But by
true.
the same token, I would fund from the general fund,
Mm-hmm.
not a specific tax, because those can fluctuate. And they may, 1 year you'll have a lot of transfer taxes, 1 year you won't. 1 year you may have good real estate taxes, but if the market crashes, it goes down.
Mm-hmm.
I'd fund from the general fund, okay? A lot of these programs, so that we can make sure we have the resources. But I also think there's an opportunity that we are not taking advantage of. I was involved in a park 20-something years ago, and the benches, there were like 80 benches in the park, and I came up with the idea of selling a bench, putting a plaque on each bench with someone's name on it. We sold them for $2,500 each. We raised $200,000. 2 years ago, they put out, because it expired, the program,
Mm-hmm.
they resold the benches for $10,000 each. They raised
Really?
$800,000. Here's my thought, something to work on. I'm happy to work with you all on this. We should engage companies and individuals who want to sponsor certain items within these parks, maybe fully sponsor a park. I'm using an example of Comcast as an example. Having a Comcast park with their name on certain items within the park provides a lot of funding, but also provides pride. And Comcast want to make sure that park is perfectly maintained. So we're creating this public-private partnership, and I can help do that because I can call these companies and ask for their help. I've done that in the past, and they've been people want to help. People do want to help. But there's another piece of this. The city is filthy dirty. We need to do a better job of cleaning up the streets, and it's just dirty. Last weekend I drove down Germantown Avenue from Mount Airy Church of God to Girard Avenue. Filthy, disgusting. I'm just saying, it's filthy.
Right.
But part of this has to be the messaging. We are not great messengers of marketing in the city of Philadelphia. We don't message well.
That is true. And another thing also is the staffing that's used to even clean up these parks, recs, and even the streets that's around them in the first place. And so I know I come from Penrose Playground.
Right.
And so Penrose Playground, we have definitely done, just over the summer, we had definitely had the opportunity to not only clean up our own recs, go to other rec centers to clean up theirs, and then even the street sidewalks around the neighborhood. But not a lot of rec centers really have the staffing for that in the first place to even have that opportunity. And so
let me mention 2 thoughts to you though. One thought is we should have public service messaging, public service announcements, PSAs, telling people, you know what, we need your help to clean up our city. And I'm going to ask every resident of the city to pick up 1 piece of trash a day. Because this litter and trash comes from people in the city usually, okay? Or illegal dumping.
True, but also do you think that it could possibly even be an opportunity, because you come from a strong working habit as a young age, that this could create an opportunity for us to create jobs for our youth, and
Absolutely.
So that way it could do more like not only just seasonal, because we do seasonal already, but more year-based, job opportunities for teenagers to be able to come in, clean up whatever they can, and even help with starting up the programs that you're talking about.
But I agree with that 100% to help the youth. But I also think if every person in the city picked up 1 piece of trash a day, you'd have a different city. I do it myself. Today when you guys leave here, pick up 1 piece of trash. And have the pride in the city that you want it to be clean.
Right.
I mentioned one other program I like to explore, and I'm happy to do this with you. Memphis, Tennessee, are you familiar with the Memphis Grizzlies, the basketball team?
Yes.
I think that's a great idea. We have 10 councils in the city, have 10 different teams of cleaning up trash and have prizes awarded for the most number of trash bags of trash collected and have a point system. The prices weren't huge. They were like $1,500, $2,000. We can get sponsors for that in 2 seconds. But it creates a team effort of cleaning the city.
That is true. And I do have a question in terms of that. Well, not even just in terms of that, but that kind of brings me to question. It does kind of eliminate the situation where we could have a possible. So with being able to have everybody clean up their own trash, this eliminates that job opportunity of having a team that's being able to look over that, right? Or I guess you could have a coordinator. Yeah, you can always have a coordinator. What are some other jobs that, Parks and Rec could possibly provide to be able to get youth off the streets, away from violence, and actually into a productive lifestyle?
We should have in high school, we should start offering now lifeguard training programs. Remember last year we had a shortage of lifeguards?
Yes.
Why don't we have courses in school to teach the high school kids how to be lifeguards? If you think about it, 17, 18-year-old can't become lifeguards. They should be able to become lifeguards.
I mean,
at the rec centers.
But you can't put all that work into schools, though. You know what I mean? Like, schools are already teaching enough.
Maybe you do it after school.
Yeah, that is true.
Do it after school. But there's plenty of, part of my education program, I mentioned those 3 points of tech, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. And I also want to allow students the option in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to go to school 4 days a week, and on the 5th day, work on a job, get credit, get paid, and get a summer job. I actually think many of the employers today would say, hey, Allan, you're working Monday, come in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after school and work. We need you.
I actually saw you definitely, I forgot exactly what it said, but I definitely saw something with you and Crystal Ray High School.
I love Crystal Ray. I love Crystal Ray. I love that school. They're doing that. And 98% of the kids graduate high school, 90% go on to college. And these are kids who come from really terrible situations at home.
All right. So time is starting to wrap up. I do want to ask, just these 2 more questions. The first question is basically based off of the violence that you see, right? And overall, we are trying to say, okay, we could get some jobs, we can get some teens off the street. If we clean up the city, they'll disrespect it a little less. What are some other ways that we could, how could Parks and Rec help with reducing that violence? And how could you, take in command and say, this is what you got to do as mayor?
I think there's a couple of things. I'll just mention 2 because we don't have a time frame. More trees, number 1. Okay. More trees in the city. And number 2, I'm not just focused on summer jobs. I'm focused on jobs after school.
Like I said, year round.
This is what I did. It's my learned experience. So it's not just summer jobs. We should have jobs year round. It should be after school jobs, and it should be jobs in the summer.
So you think planting more trees will reduce the violence?
I think it'll help. I think it will help. I think cleaning will help. I think when people see a clean neighborhood, there is less violence. There have been studies showing that. Look, some of these neighborhoods are terrible.
They are.
Terrible.
I actually saw something where you said your first, as a short-term goal, your first 100 days, you will be cleaning up all the lots and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna clean all the vacant lots. And look, we're gonna have to engage the citizens to help us. This is a team effort.
And how exactly would you say that you will make sure that not only does Parks and Rec become clean and safe, but actually stay clean and safe?
I can only speak to my term as mayor, but I will say that Parks and Recs will have goals, we'll have strategies and tactics to achieve those goals, and they'll have to be held accountable by the Parks and Recs Commission, but also by the mayor. And so I'm pretty hands-on and into accountability. I come from the world of, we're gonna set a goal and we're gonna achieve it, we're gonna check it every day and by the week. That's how you achieve goals.
That is good. And actually, before I even go, so going back towards the funding question real quick before we even go, because like I said, this all is going to really tie into funding. I guess I did ask a specific question, so I'm just going to generally ask you, what would be a general plan when it comes towards funding, Parks and Rec, not only the capital, but also the operation?
So let's think about this for a minute. When I was on council, the investments in violence prevention are $200 million. I think they're higher today. I asked for the administration to evaluate all those programs through our academic institutions like community college, like St. Joe's, Temple, Drexel, and Penn, to tell us which ones are working and which ones are not. When I say working, saving lives, and which ones are not. Part of that money should be allocated to Parks and Recs. When you think about what is most successful, it's getting kids into these programs to take them off the street. That should be part of the whole equation. We're spending $200 million. We don't even know that we're getting a return. There's plenty of money here. We just have to allocate it to the projects that are the most productive.
That is really good. Good. Okay. All right, I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate y'all.
You did really good.